On today's show, happy 4th. Will the British crown have its revenge? We have more history made in the tour, but was it fair? We discussed some issues with UAE and stage 3. We're going to do stage 4, stage 4, and we're going to recap stage 5 and 6. And is Jasper still the disaster? And will the individual time trial on stage 7 mean the Tour de France is over? Or just make it more exciting? This is the 111th edition of the Tour de France. Stages 5 and 6 coming up. This is the Between Two Wheels podcast, episode 349, right now.
Massive number of people have been upgrading. Yes,
there you go. You see the graceful limb that you were talking about before.
The race we've got yet again, and a victor then goes victory to an American, Andy Hampton.
The felt it go by. He looks at the Colombian rider. How are you doing?
Straight past Santiago Botero, and he's coming up to Pantani.
Armstrong is sitting in for his last few hundred metres as we come towards the finish of this monumental stage. And Armstrong,
as we start to approach the line now, Pantani grits his teeth and accelerates and over the line.
Is going now to win stage number 15. Sepp Kuss, an emotional finish from Durango in the USA. Sepp Kuss wins.
Happy 4th of July here in America. When we took over those inbreds in the UK. Yeah, the Royals, they tend to inbreed. That's a problem. They have problems with their teeth. But so do Americans. But today is the day we get a gloat. Sorry about that. This is the way we are. You're the best around. And we're going to talk about Mark Cavendish. I don't think he's inbred. So we'll give him a break on this. So sue me if you don't like my commentary about the Euros. Whatever. I love the Tour de France, and I didn't get a chance to recap stage 5, which was historic. We're going to talk about that. Stage 3 was historic. Stage 4 is everything's historic. But that's what history is meant to be, to break history, to break records. And we had this happen. It's a spoiler. You should probably know about it already by now. Mark Cavendish gets a win, but let's back up. Let's back the tape up just a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the Galibier, because I was in court all day. I came back. I did a real quick podcast about it. Didn't feel good. And I didn't really get a chance to break it down a lot. And look, I said UAE they lit the race up, start to finish. A few things I want to talk about because it has some ramifications going forward, or for predicting things, which is obviously we talked about Vingegaard gets isolated. He doesn't have Sepp Kuss. It's what it is. I mean, Sepp got sick. He's not there. He's always the last guy. They've won all their grand tours with Sepp Kuss in there. Matter of fact, last year he was in all 3 races, finished the last one. But before that, he was in the Tour and the Vuelta, and then he went Giro, Tour, Vuelta. I mean, just the dude is he's been amazing, okay? And he's that last guy on the climbs, which makes a difference. If he would have been there, I imagine, he's still on the climb on the last bit, and maybe he goes over the top with Remco or closer to Vingegaard and then helps him on the descent. I don't know. That could be the case. What is interesting, though, is bringing on Matteo Jorgensen, and I think for him, he did as good as he can. He's a bigger guy, and it's a little bit different climbing for him. But he's able to do, I'm seeing some things coming into the finish yesterday and then today, which is Jonas on his wheel. There's some wind, Jonas is on Mateo, and you're like, where's Wout? Well, he's up there and about, and he's doing his job too, and the other riders, the port, and so it's just a fascinating little thing I'm seeing that Mateo keeps leading Jonas up and around the front. You know, a guy that did obviously very good in the classics this year and has done well in 2 stage races, the Dauphiné and Paris-Nice. You know, he knows how to maneuver his way around, and he's not a little guy. So it's just a little bit of a different thing. And I think that's obviously going to be really good for positioning coming into some climbs. We'll see how Mateo comes on that part. Okay. With that in mind, though, UAE comes and they blow the race apart. Now, that race, the Galibier, was only 80. I'm going to do it in miles to give it a perspective here. It was only 86.5 miles. So it was a short race, big Galibier climb. But it is a little different. It's different than having 3 successive HC or Cat 1s, and then you have a big climb. So with that in mind, do you take away from this? Because it was more explosive. Now, you say a 20-kilometer climb is explosive. Well, at the top, Tadej went nuclear and then went down the hill very much faster than Jonas. So he takes some time, but it's not like if the race had finished at the top, he has 8 seconds. It's not a big deal. But that's what we'd race the whole thing. This is, you're talking about Mark Cavendish breaking the record. Eddie Merckx was famous multiple times for attacking downhill. I'm trying to remember the rider's name, but Pulido. I know that's Matthew van der Poel's. I don't think that was him then. It was a race where Eddie Merckx, I think it was behind, the other guy was in the lead, and Merckx takes off over the climb and just attacks down the hill. And this dude is having trouble. He ends up wrecking and pulls out, and he says really injured. There's always questions about really if he was that badly injured. But the point is, Eddie Merckx can make it. And you saw the Galibier. It was a daring descent. Okay, let's get back into, though, what I really wanted to talk about kind of on that race, which was the UA team. Now, once again, they were great, but you saw a few items there, and I was trying to look back through some of the film here just to see if I can see it. And they're not really going to show it on the highlights film, but it's with Almeida as on the front. He's gestating all over, and Ayuso hanging on the back. And then you've also got the issue with Adam Yates then comes to the fore. And it was looking out of sorts, and there's a possibility that Ayuso just really isn't putting in the effort as a teammate. And he's kind of holding off. And then he was 3rd place on the day, kind of saved some time bonus, which is helpful for Tadej. But at this point, you should be all in. And you saw Yates coming through and doing what he really had to do. And I thought I'd play this interview real quick here because I think it's somewhat telling. Let's see if I can find a way to present this. It's somewhat telling when you hear this, when Adam Yates was 3rd last year. Now, let's remember what it meant for him to be 3rd last year, which is he was doing all the work helping Tadej, but the Col de la Loze stage, he was allowed to try to go ahead and try to catch Felix Gall. He never did, but that's when Tadej lost like 7 minutes, I want to say, or something like that. He still stayed 2nd place, but that was a big move up for Adam Yates to climb up and to keep the overall. I don't think, but for Tadej kind of having a bad day and they're kind of worried about what happened there, that Adam is really going to do this. So listen to this, because you saw it there too. Adam, 3rd, he's in his own right. He can be whatever, but he came from the back. He was supposed to be the last guy there for Tadej. Let's take a look. I'll add this in at 1.25. Okay.
Today you surprised us a little bit by sacrificing yourself early. That's what it looked like anyway. Tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I had to do a big turn in the headwind section there. But yeah, I mean, it's all part of the plan. We're here for Tadej and nothing else. So, yeah, he pulled out the win and also gained some valuable time as well at the same time. So it was a good day for us.
The batting order that we expected was for you to be the last man and then for you to not also sacrifice positions on GC.
Yeah, a little bit, but I mean, yeah, if I need to do my job early because some guys aren't in position, that's how it is. So I know my job.
If I had to go a little early because some guys aren't in position, then so be it. Which was Ayuso. It was supposed to be Ayuso coming.
I know my role, and I'm happy to do it. So, like I said, yesterday was a good day, and yeah, for sure, there's plenty more opportunities for us to win some stages like this.
We haven't been able to speak to Juan Ayuso this morning, but obviously there's a debate about the way he rode as well. Is he trying to hang on in general classification? Should he have been nearer the front and closer to Almeida? Tell us what was the plan for those last few kilometres of the Galibier?
I mean, we're just trying to do a lead out for Tadej. Everyone knows the plan. Everyone knows their role. It's not easy to be in the front when you need to be, but yeah, I guess it comes with experience. So yeah, I think as long as the boss finishes off the stage, it doesn't really matter what order we go. So yeah.
Okay, somewhat dramatic there. It doesn't matter as long as we all, get it done and the boss wins the stage. Doesn't matter what order we go. It does matter at some point. Mason Marlowe says, missed you on the ride today. Yeah, sorry about that. I did my own ride. It sucked, and then I went to the gym. I got some things going on here. The kids are out of the house, so it's just the wife and I. So you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, so I thought that was an interesting part. It was a little bit of the team stuff. And then I thought it would juxtaposition it with a comment that TJ Van Garderen made on Peacock. Okay. He's talking about this. And his point was Almeida, they need to keep this stuff in the team bus and not bring it out there. Almeida doesn't need to be going like this and yelling. And it may have actually hurt UAE in the long run because the pace slowed down. And perhaps with this punchier stuff at the end, you wear down the legs of Remco, you wear down the legs of Roglic and Vingegaard to where you get more time instead of slowing down and then speeding back up. So perhaps it's the case. But if you remember back, I think it was the 2012 Tour de France, the previous year had been won by Cadel Evans. TJ Van Garderen is riding for BMC. They go over this climb and people had thrown tacks all over the road. Very famous stage, but it was famous not only for that because people got, flats or whatnot, but for other situation. And it was TJ was fine and he went through it, and Cadel was, the winner of the year before, and that's who the team leader was, even though TJ was like 5th overall at the time or something like that. And he kept going, and he's like, I didn't hear it. And Cadel's like, well, he said on Peacock, he goes, look, Cadel had come up to me, or I don't think he had actually done that, but radioed and said, I need your wheel. And TJ's like, gone. And he goes, that was a wrong decision. I thought that was really brave of TJ to say that. He goes, my relationship with him was never the same again. And, it scorns your reputation. So when you see riders like an Adam Yates coming from, like, he's going to be the last guy, and he just goes right up to the front and does some work until Ayuso gets his shit together. That is, one, it's impressive. I said, like last year, is the 3rd place. He's won stages. He and his brother have done great tours as it is. So that was there. Okay, so we go into the stage 5. I just thought I'd break that down real quick for stage 4 since I hadn't really talked about it with the Galibier, which is fantastic. And how does that then project to the upcoming stages? We don't really know. I still think Tadej has always been the guy that he Roglic's you to death, which is those minor cuts, always getting those time bonuses. Roglic isn't doing that. Okay, Vingegaard was close, but he couldn't close it down on the descent. He was good with the technical stuff. And then when it was just a lot of speed, it was different. And I don't know that really plays into how they would do time trialing. We will see. But that's kind of what's coming up next. Okay, so stage 5, it is all about sprinters. Once again, we're going to be sprinting in here, and you probably already know the results of this because it's it's all news. But there's a few. And actually, before I want to get there, maybe we'll play. Let me see. Oh, you know what? Sorry. There's a lot of things I want to look at here. Let me remove this, but I wanted to look at. There we go. Let's add this on there. This is what climbs for the Galibier, the overall and the fastest times. Tadej was the fastest at 20:48. Okay, Vingegaard at 20:56. And then you look at these other times, and what's I think it's interesting to see here is these times of other riders and their whether it's records or not. But he had Froome, Kachoni, Menkes, so it's a breakaway that's up the road. And how close was this was this the final or not? Quintana had it in 2019, 22:29, and Bernal, Frank Schreck at 23. So look, 20:48, they went much faster, but it was an 86-mile stage. It didn't have any other big climbs, comparably with it. And how did it finish compared to everything else? So I think that plays into it. But man, it was a pretty fast stage as far as that goes. Okay, I wanted to play Pogačar. We can have that stage 5. Okay, this is important here because we're going to see during the stage there was this little possible problem with the losing the race altogether. And it's if you take a look in here, we'll just keep the sound down. But right in the middle, you can see Tadej almost hits this sign, squirts out of the way, and guys behind him, and I think Bilbao, they could not miss that. But I think this video plays it in slow-mo. There's a few other angles of it. The race going down, but I thought it was really, here, let's go. It's right in the middle. Tadej, it's coming up. His team's trying to get out of the way. He slides, his front wheel does, and he just miraculously whips around it. Now, this is like, I think, was it last year? Cavendish hit something like that, went over the bars. Or I maybe hit someone else, but you've seen guys hit these things and really hurt themselves pretty bad. So that was very interesting, and it was, as people like to do, they see this and they say, oh, this is the most amazing bike handling. It really was pretty amazing bike handling, and there's a reason why he doesn't go down in a situation like that, and Roglic definitely does. I don't even know if I played, did I play the clips here talking about the Galibier in, I want to say 2017. I think that's when the year was. It was Roglic's first win ever. He gets in the breakaway. There's just, 4, 5, 7 riders up there, and he's riding there, and he just crashes himself right into the ditch. And it's like, that's what he does. That's what he does. Tyler Yonke is live. Happy 4th. Yes, thanks, Victor. Thanks for joining us. Sorry about the late notice, but so be it. Here we go. Okay, so let's look at the result, or the highlights for stage 6, the big sprint. I'm sorry, stage 5, the big sprint. Everyone was looking out there. You have Abrahamson, Abrahamson. I think that Abrahamson, maybe that's what his name is. That's stupid. Okay, so here's the stage. It's 177 kilometers. Saint-Jean-De-Maurienne to Saint Vulbas Plan de Ain. Okay, not many oops, we got it. I'm sorry. This happens here sometimes. You get these. Let me just get past this, and then we'll share back on the. Sorry, an ad comes in there. So what I thought was interesting about this, I had predicted, remember, that famously that Mark Cavendish would not get a record win, let alone he wouldn't even win 10 stages. Okay. Now, what did happen that helped him? He got a. He's back there messing with his bike. He's fidgeting. It's all good. The team's going to put him in good position. There was a little rain on the road. There was no break really up the road to even talk about. And thus it made this stage very slow. Okay. I was looking here and I brought up some times. 42.8 kilometers an hour average. Stage 3 had 42.4, which was a little slower, but it had some more feet of climbing in it. Whereas stage 6 today was 46 kilometers average. So you've seen some of these that really fly. That one was fairly slow, which does help. And you're going to see it in the finish. Some older, crankier guys are going to be able to get up there. Okay, there's the Tadej just missing that. There's an intermediate sprint, which Mads Pedersen gets up there along with Philipsen. You expect Philipsen to do well. There were 2 guys up on the break for quite a while, but they kept them fairly close, and there wasn't really much to even worry about. Coming in here to the finish. Oh, we've already missed it. Coming in here to the finish. The teams are set up to go. Now, I thought, okay, Jasper Philipsen, he's got a team going in there. There's a lot of bumping and grinding by Mark Cavendish and his Astana team. Philipsen is doing a little bit of that himself, but he gets Matthew van der Poel up here to do some of the work for him, and Matthew van der Poel kicks at the front. But the problem is he doesn't do much good, and so Philipsen has to immediately come out to the side. He gets on an Arkea, maybe it was Arnaud Demar's lead, and they're moving up the right. Now, there was a headwind, and then it was veering around a corner to the right. You can see right here, there's already this corner. So the sprinters with the headwind, they want to come out of this, they want to hit the front late. And with that, the positioning coming around that last corner, even though it's a bend, is all important. So that's there. Okay, just kind of jerk this thing so you don't get struck. But look at this. So Mark Cavendish comes in from the right side as he's doing. He immediately flies all the way over to the left, and Philipsen follows him. Okay, Philipsen follows him over there. Now, when you're watching this, I want you to think, what was your first reaction? For me, it was, that looks, especially from the front, it did not look good. It looked typical Mark Cavendish being, and Philipsen, by the way, kind of being reckless. Doing their Cadel Evans, they win a lot of races. I think Mark Cavendish, if he hadn't been relegated and wrecked people himself out and others, he probably would have had these 35 wins a long time ago. Okay, it's just the dude's been involved in that. But that's the way it is too. Sometimes you don't get those wins unless you play the game the way it is. So he flies all the way to the side, but he immediately has the gap. Boom, a rider goes down behind. That's Mads Pedersen. We'll talk about that in a tad bit. But Cavendish keeps streaming ahead, and there's not enough time for Philipsen to come around him. So Cav is able to, by a bike length, post up and get the win. It was somewhat impressive. Now, let's see if they show the overhead. The team, everyone's happy. Everyone's praising him. Cavendish could do no wrong. Phil Liggett was literally crying in the studio. And, he's been doing this for 50 some years. Good for him. But it was a little bit much because then they kept the mic on him. Okay. And they're doing presentation. You can hear him going, and I'm like, come on, get your shit together. This is what's funny is like the tour's on in the house. Okay, my wife's doing stuff. The Giro, Vuelta, it doesn't matter. She go and she just makes jokes now. She says, "Oh, your criers are on TV because they win and they cry." And I'm like, "Yes, it happens." But now the announcers are crying. Okay, so here's a little bit of the overhead. Let's go once again. A little bit, maybe some frame by frame stuff. So you can see Cav. He does have plenty of room to skip out. Now I want to see if he does look. People have said he's looked behind, but he didn't look behind. So he may have looked behind over in this spot. Let's see if he moves his head at all. I kept hearing commentators. Benji said it on Lantern Rouge. Someone else said it, I think on the cycling podcast, that he's checking behind on the place. Okay, well, I don't see him checking there. His head's not moving there. He just goes. Okay, he just goes. Now, Philipsen, same thing. Gaviria, he crops over his wheel, but he didn't slow it. Neither one of these guys slow anyone down. But that is, if you're looking at this and you see this move, you're like, I don't know. Now, all the commentators, they're out there saying this is clean because he deviated, but when he deviated, he didn't cause any direct, put anybody in direct danger. I say his actions put people in indirect danger, and maybe that would be part of it. It's hard to see here, but I did see a breakdown from Chris Horner, and let's see if I can show the slide as, he shows that all these guys are going over, and when they're all going over here, you can see at the bottom is Mads Pedersen, and right in front of him is Sam Bennett, and then in front of him is Arnaud Delis. Now, when they all are going over, I understand they're all kind of chasing Cavendish because Cavendish's wild move. And Cavendish, according to Horner, his move is done specifically to slow down those guys coming from the outside here. And it works. It pushes this whole thing over. None of these guys can come around. But what it ends up doing is it makes Mads crash because these guys are all going. You can see, I think it's Demar hits Delis, and then they cascade over, and then you don't get to see that. So it's what it is. He gets to kiss his wife, and his family's up there, and Gourmet gets the green jersey out of this. Good for him. And then the stage for the next day. Okay, so look, glad Mark won, but he wins with a few things, which is today they go very slow. There's really no worries. I didn't soften his legs up. You had Alexander Kristoff getting third. Okay. Which it was an impressive win. Philipsen did not have the legs there. And when you see that and you go, ooh, he wasn't even able to to even challenge him. But the diving across the road, I think that's actually perfect for Mark Cavendish. I think it encapsulates his career, which is, for me, I look at him a lot of times and I just like cringe, or you hear the stuff he says and I just like cringe. And so when it comes across like maybe I don't like Mark Cavendish, sometimes it's just, I'm not a big fan of sometimes the way he rides. But you know what? There he is. He's got that because of kind of how he does ride. Okay, so now there's today's race. Today's race is stage 6, and Biniam Girmay in the green jersey. Yellow is Tadej. Abrahamsen is in the polka dot jersey, and then you have in the white jersey Remco Evenepoel. So this is going to be an important day here as well. Nothing really happened, except there was some interesting stuff that happened. 163.5 kilometers, wasn't too hilly. It was just going to be a day where they go. Abrahamsen gets out and gets a few little points, so he'll probably be in that jersey for quite a bit longer. You had an intermediate sprint. Then Cavendish, with 80 kilometers to go, ends up getting a mechanical. Now, this played a little bit into it because he gets this mechanical Took a little bit of time to do so. It's a sprint day, so you expect whatever. But when this happened, you had a crosswind, and there was a split in the group. So now Cavendish is trying to get back up there, but the front groups are splitting up, and the race is on. Tadej is in the front group. Remco's in the front group. Carlos Rodriguez is in the front group. Vingegaard is in the front group. Roglic is in, all the big guys are in the front group. So there's really no reason for, but UAE does not have their team up there. Tadej's all alone. But what's interesting is our team's going to ride simply to get rid of Ayuso? Maybe. And so it was a weird dynamic of kind of pushing. I mean, Roglic was taking the front. Tadej was even pulling on the front. You can see here Matteo Jorgensen and Visma. They were kind of pushing on. Meanwhile, Cavendish is trying to get back on, and he's second on the team car. And then he's on the UCI director's car. Then he was complaining about camera motorbike, and there's all kinds of problems. Then there was a wreck in the road, and this was Van Rensburg of EF Education. Kind of a bunch in there with they're coming into a town, and it ripples back. Those guys don't wreck, but Rensburg actually hits someone and launches himself forward and does like a swan dive, lands on his chest. It was pretty sketchy, but as it happened, the riders get back up. They're coming into the finish. Now, Mark Cavendish is up there. His team is doing work. Jayco's doing work. You've got Decathlon doing a bunch of work. And the zone where they take the time for if you have a wreck or whatnot, was 4 kilometers to go. And right when they hit that, Matteo Jorgensen had been on the front. He just comes off. Then you have Uno X. Abrahamson comes up there. Magnus Kort is coming up there, and you have the Bahrain Merida team. You have Astana, and it looks like Cavendish is going to have himself a chance. Now the problem is, Cav says afterwards that shit, Victor, no audio. Have I been doing this the whole time and it's not been audio? That is tragic. That is tragic. I don't know when I hit the button. You know what? We may have to start all over. That's a great flag you have in your between duels. Thanks. I hope I didn't just hit that accidentally and then it went there. Okay, so only a few minutes. Victor says only a few minutes. You know what? We'll keep going then, folks. Let's back up a little bit with the split is here. One, Groenewegen doesn't have a good look on his glasses. Matthew van der Poel hits out, and Wout tries to jump around him. Matthew and Philipsen kicks and kind of puts him into the barriers, and then we end up having something that we're going to have to talk about, which is a possible relegation. So let's go here. Let's see if you can see this. Now, here's the problem. Philipsen doesn't need to do this. There's got plenty of room for Matthew van der Poel. Just goes straight, so it's easy to go by him. It's not like he's drifting one way or another, and it's sometimes good to have your lead out guy for you to tell him which way you want him to kind of be peeling off of, and so you're always coming around that one side. So Wout does deviate a little bit, but nothing like what we saw yesterday. But it is enough, and look, I mean, Philipsen does. But right there, again, that's not so good. You're shutting the door. And I actually, there's some, I think the Lantern Rouge guys were saying, oh, shoot, I didn't put this up. I'm having a day. The Lantern Rouge guys were saying that they thought that, the deviation, since he loses by just a little bit, is enough to cause, you to lose the race just by a few millimeters. I don't know if that's the case. I think more so is if you allow Wout to come up to your side, now you're drag racing with him. And with that in mind, you probably have the chance to just accelerate a bit more. Sometimes that's the case. When a guy's right next to you and you see him, the digging deeper is just something that happens. So I think he may have lost it then. It wasn't necessary. Groenewegen gets the win. Philipsen second, but he gets relegated down. So Gourmet goes up. Gaviria goes up. Bauhaus, Deli, Wout, Demer, and Kristoff and Ackerman. There you go. No change in the overall, but I thought it was let's take a look here at what Mark Cavendish, though, had to say about this today. Race officials appear to be strictly enforcing the rules, warning Cavendish during stage 6 for drafting on team cars while trying to return to the peloton after mechanical. The Astana sprinter explained to Peacock following the stage what that happened and accused a TV motorbike of interfering with his chase. I had a mechanical problem. My chain wrapped and locked under my bottom bracket, Cav said. I started to panic when the TV camera, it's the second time a particular camera has done it. He goes in the middle of the road and stops the convoy coming. This creates, you're out the back. I have TV cameras there to capture images and not to influence the race. And it's the second time this motorbike's done it. So that's when you start to panic. When an outside control is influencing the race, it's something you can't prepare for. Outside, you mean like maybe a team car that's pacing you back up to the front? Maybe something like that. I mean, that's what's so stupid about it is if he had won today, there would have been maybe more egregious concern over his deviating yesterday, which I think technically was since technically you shouldn't relegate him. But today he's drafting on the cars for so long and so egregious that you can't let him win after that. I mean that would have been just a little bit too much. So it's particular for how he does his stuff, and there you go. All right, let's take a look here at the results. Okay. Okay. That's tomorrow's stage. Let's go back. Sorry here. Let's go back. It's a day. Okay. There's Groenewegen getting the win. We already saw that. GC is no different. The points, Gourmet, this is a big one because Philipsen would have gone up a bit today, and he didn't. And then it allowed Gourmet to even get more points than he normally would have because he went up an extra spot. So that wasn't good for that competition. And by the way, that'll be good for Intermarché Wanty, pushing Gourmet. He did another good job of putting himself in position and getting the more points there. Abrahamsen, 26 points over Pogacar. He's going to hold that for a while for the KOM Youth Evenepoel teams UAE. And that was the stage profile for today. So let's take a look at tomorrow's. This is the individual time trial. And I think this one will be interesting. There's 3 time checks here. There's a bit of a climb, 1.6 at 6.5. This has, you got 3-4 guys here that really have the great chance of doing this. That typically I would say it would be the issue. I mean, the 4 guys that you would be really expecting a good battle from. But this year, obviously, Tadej did the Giro, destroyed everybody there, and he's looked good. So that hasn't slowed him down much. Jonas, obviously, with his crash, Roglic with the crash, Remco with the crash. It just makes, we're not sure where everyone is. And I do, however, especially after you watch the Dauphiné, I do think that Remco is probably the best bet to win or to be as close to Tadej as possible. He is the world time trial champion, so you're not going to see a big difference, I think, on those two, especially with this climb. Now, last year, Jonas put the wood to everybody, beat Tadej by, a minute and a half. That had a significant climb in it. But even before the climb, he was putting the wood to him. So, but that was later on in the race, stage 1, I want to say 16, 17, somewhere in there. So it was also later. Fatigue has been an issue, and they've been going back and forth. Roglic can time trial well. He didn't do so good at Planche de Belfi, but he did very good up the time trial to into the last stage of the second to last stage of the Giro last year. So he's not bad at all. I mean, he had a bad Planche de Belfi, but he's done 1 time trials, and this one looks like it's kind of in his wheelhouse. So those 4, I expect those 4 actually to be somewhat close. What I'm curious is to see where Jonas comes out of this. Typically, you would expect him to be right on par with Tadej, very close, but you don't know. So that will be where we're looking at because of his past wreck that he's had. So, and where are you at? We don't know. But Ayuso, he's not a good time trial. He's a decent time trial, actually. Carlos Rodriguez is not a great time trialer. This is enough where you may have a Wout in the mix. You may have, you don't have Ghana, but, Stefan Kung up there. It'll be interesting to see what other, Stefan Bessinger, maybe for EF. He can go pretty good. It'll be interesting to see if there's any, Nielsen Palace can time trial. But these are more guys that might be in the hot seat before the big guns come through. So we'll have to see. I honestly believe, I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Tadej put a bunch of time into everybody. I think Tadej is going to stay in the yellow jersey, but this is what I predict, which is It's going to be Remco is going to get the win, but it's going to be very close with Tadej. And then I think you could see Jonas being close to Tadej and Roglic actually being. These are my predictions, but yeah, I don't even know, because I could also see it being just completely jumbled up. There's too much that we don't know about. If this was all of them come in and they've looked a little bit, no one above each other, then maybe it's all the same. But this is what's actually, for once, it's going to be kind of exciting. And I think it will be somewhat fun to see. So that's the prediction, though. But Remco, I think he's your boy. Sorry about the audio mix-up here. Hope it wasn't too much for you guys. Happy 4th of July. But yeah, tomorrow, Tour de France, time trial. Today is 4th of July, so the day's off. And I was like, oh, they're time trial on Sunday. And then I was like, wait, today's only Thursday. It's almost Friday. And then you've got, let's see what the weekend has here. We're almost done here. Lumpy on Saturday and Sunday gravel. Sunday gravel. Thanks for live streaming. You bet. No problem. Take care, everybody.
Froome now, he goes on the offensive, he goes on the attack over the top of this final climb, and nobody at the moment can go with him.
He had 75 kilometres to go, and now under the Flamme Rouge, and there he is still, the virtual Malia Rosa on the road. Who would have thought it at the start of today?